The world of WWE gets a lot of flack thrown at it, and one of the biggest things that people say about it is that it's entirely fake. Yet there have been times that the wrestlers have been seriously injured. Here are just a few examples of that. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 6. APA vs Public Enemy. That's right, they put wrestlers versus rappers. Can you believe they shoved Flavor Flav off of a ladder? I kid. The real story here is about a tag team from ECW known as Public Enemy, and they were rather infamous behind the scenes for a simple reason. They didn't care. Didn't care about what? Anything really. They just wanted to wrestle and make it look good, and as real as possible. And that's good, in context. But the world of wrestling isn't as simple as go and wrestle. If that was the case, then everyone would likely be having a better time.
And I don't know if we'll ever see Public Enemy again. They're getting destroyed.
Anyway, the former ECW tag team were known for bad attitudes, affecting the morale in the locker rooms, ticking off management, and more. Enter the APA. John Bradshaw and Farouk were known as the hitmen of the WWE. Their theme song even screamed, APA protection, to let you know that they were there to make money beating up other people. The APA were also a tag team that would be the welcoming party to people who weren't playing ball. So one time, WWE decided to just let APA kill Public Enemy, and it was as brutal as you might expect. Now, do you still want to tell me that this is fake?
That's enough. Come on, when is enough, killer? They're not stopping. They don't care.
Number 5. The Shield's partner. Whether you love them or hate them, there's no doubt that there are a lot of passionate wrestling fans in the world. And honestly, that's why professional wrestling has lasted so long. From the early days of the territories to NWA, WWF, before it was called WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and now companies like AEW, the fans are really what show that wrestling has staying power. There's just one problem. Sometimes they just get a little too passionate and they decide to break the code of conduct, if you will, in ways that aren't nice for the wrestlers. We'll start off with a tame one here. There was a faction known as the Shield, and 2 of its members were going to fight a 3-man group called the Wyatt family. So they needed a 3rd man to match up. Like WWE does, they teased and postulated who might the mystery tag team member be. So when the 2 members of the Shield entered the ring and the hype for the mystery partner began, it was all good. And then suddenly, a fan dressed ironically in Shield attire jumped the rail and got into the ring and stood toe-to-toe with the Shield like he was supposed to be there. But he wasn't. Now, props to security for getting the guy out of the ring, but it was still an awkward conversation. But also props to Bray Wyatt for taunting the situation with, "That's who you got?" Number 4. Randy vs. Snake. In the early days of WWF/WWE, the powers that be were really going for broke in terms of some of the gimmicks that they had for certain wrestlers. And one of the most over-the-top and arguably most dangerous was that of Jake the Snake Roberts. He was usually a heel wrestler, and his biggest thing was that he brought a bag to the ring, and in it was a massive snake known as Damien. Now, usually when the snake came out, it was just a scare tactic, but one time, this snake went ape, and actually bit one of the wrestlers in a rather painful segment, both literally and metaphorically. Now, according to Jake the Snake, this bite was intentional, and he actually had to convince Macho Man Randy Savage to take the bite by getting bit himself in order to show that it wasn't poisonous. I'm not sure I would believe that test because of how venom works at times, but still. Anyways, this is something you definitely won't see on WWE now for various reasons, not the least of which is animals are unpredictable, and while it technically was planned for Macho Man to get bit, it could have gone a lot worse than it actually did.
I'm a little upset by the fact we're in a shower. You're a sick man, Robert.
Oh, that's true, I am. At least you know that.
Number 3. The arrival of the Phenomenal One. Not all moments are about injuries. Sometimes they're about missed moments and opportunities due to shoddy camera work.
What the hell was that?
What do I mean by that? Well, let's flash back to the 2016 Royal Rumble, the first major PPV for WWE, and one that everyone knows is meant to be special. Roman Reigns, the champion at the time, was in the Rumble having to defend his title. He defeated the first competitor and was waiting on the number 3 entry. When the buzzer sounded and the music hit, the camera focused on Roman Reigns' reaction instead of showing the ramp, where the Phenomenal One, AJ Styles, was making his official WWE debut. This shocking moment was ruined because of camera work. And while eventually they looked at AJ with the camera, half of the moment was ruined because they just looked at Roman Reigns. For those who don't know, AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers on the planet and a guy who was turned down by WWE for years for reasons only known to God and Vince McMahon. For him to arrive in WWE was huge, but for them to botch his debut like this, not cool. If this sounds familiar to you wrestling fans, that's likely because you're thinking about the return of Edge in the 2020 Royal Rumble, where similar camera work also botched his entrance in multiple ways. And you'd think WWE would learn by now how to work their cameras. Number 2. The firing of Daniel Bryan. Hirings and firings in WWE happen a little more often than you might think.
You're fired! Oh, baby!
And sometimes these firings are so random and weird that you're like, wait, what just happened? Daniel Bryan is, like AJ Styles, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. But when he debuted in WWE, it was part of the newly created show called NXT. Literally no comparison to the epic NXT that we have now, but I digress. And the first batch of superstars that came to NXT formed a group called Nexus, and they decided to make their main roster debut by destroying everyone and everything, which was honestly a big moment for WWE as a whole. The problem though came when Daniel Bryan choked out ring announcer Justin Roberts with his own tie. He was doing it to help sell the heel nature of the group, and the crowd was feeling it, but management was not, and they fired him for it. When word got out about this, the fans made a plea to bring him back, and they did, and Daniel Bryan became one of the biggest names in the company. So luckily, they listened to the fans on that one, but they don't do it as often as many would like. Last but not least, at number 1, off the ropes. So we've shown you a lot of lighter stuff and everything, but let's end with something that was truly shocking and hurtful. Enzo Amore may be a blacklisted wrestler now, but at one time he was one of the biggest promo droppers in the game alongside his tag team partner Big Cass. During their initial Raw run, they were fighting another tag team called the Vaudevillains, and during what should have been a regular sequence, Enzo hit the ropes wrong and quite literally knocked himself out. The impact was quick, harsh, and real. The match had to be stopped because of it, and by Enzo's own admission, he had gotten a concussion. That's why they tell you not to try this at home, because even the simplest of moves can end up in a major injury. And that'll do it, folks. What did you think of these shocking moments of WWE matches that went wrong in a hurry? Are you surprised by how quick some of these matches can go wrong? Does this change your opinion of WWE and wrestling as a whole? Do you know of other matches that also went wrong in a hurry? Let me know in the comments below, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.